episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on February the 13th, 2018. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, a huge petri dish of germs.
Hey, I'm not your son. I'm Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we've played. We're going to be taking a look at Lootboxes going forward into 2018 with several news articles. There's a rumor going around that Disney and Lucasfilms are talking with new game developers for Star Wars. Sea of Thieves is getting microtransaction pets a few months after its launch. Mojang's card game Scrolls shuts down for good on February 13th, which is today, as of recording. Relic leaves Dawn of War 3 behind as it moves on to new projects. We'll have our weekly community corner, our Steam weekly discovery queue, and timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, fellow sick person.
Well, I'm not as sick as you.
I guess that depends on what way you look at what type of sick you're talking about.
It all depends from a certain point of view.
Indeed. Oh, yeah. I'm glad you're feeling better, because 2 days ago you were like, I don't think I can do that. And I was like...
Well, I was marking myself as uncertain because it really depended on what my sciences did, because I had a migraine for the weekend. So you could imagine me not really wanting to record if I still had that migraine.
Yeah, I was ready, though. I was ready. In case we weren't going to put together or maybe try and rope in a last-minute team host. Maybe Kyle or...
Yeah, but do we really want to let Kyle loose? Without, supervision from both of us?
I mean, I could supervise him just fine if you don't.
What, have your leather daddy outfit all set? Try to distract him?
Absolutely. You should put that link in the show notes. Just for people to go look at it. Maybe put it like at the bottom or, I don't know. You do the show notes. Just put it somewhere. People should go watch that video. It's quite funny.
Yeah, I found some sort of, I think it's supposed to be Norwegian game show or reality show that was testing their biathlete, and I found part of it first thing in the morning on Reddit. Well, my morning, and it's like, well, it's only up from here. Or in Jared's case, down.
It's pretty funny. Even though I couldn't understand what they were saying, just what they were doing was...
We just need to get Kyle to dub over it.
Yes, you should do that, Kyle. If you have time. I know that you're back at work again, or back at a new job. So, yay!
Speaking of jobs, maybe we should move on to ours?
I
mean, we are here for a reason.
We are, and we do get paid a little bit, sort of. I mean, we don't really get to use that money. It all gets put back into the show, but, yeah.
Well, for now, we're a non-profit.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we're a non-profit. Exactly. I'm going to file my taxes for a non-profit. I could try. I'd probably go to jail for tax fraud.
Yeah. So, games we played?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Shall we play a game?
I want to play a game.
Game over, man. It's game over.
What games have you played this week, Rage? And we're also gonna sort of alternate just to give our throats a little rest in between. But I have...
Yeah, see, my throat was rather sore during the weekend due to sickness. Jared's is just naturally sore through the weekend due to his activities.
All the dicks I suck.
Well, he goes down to the shooting range, his leather boy outfit.
You have to watch the video to understand that one, people. But yeah, we're kind of alternating. I don't have enough games to alternate every other game, but we're going to break it up a little.
So, first up is Brick Rigs. I picked this up during the summer of last year on the Steam sale. And I've toyed around with it on and off. And while I was sick, I decided to, devote a little bit more time with it. And I will say, I like and dislike certain parts of it. For one, absolutely love the destruction engine in it, where, for those who don't know, Brick Rigs is essentially just a vehicular sandbox where you're building with Legos in sarcasm quotes. Different vehicles, trains, automobiles, tanks, that sort of thing. And drive them around, and they're fully destructible, as in you crash into something, and it breaks apart like you would imagine Legos would. which is very, very satisfying. But something I really dislike about it, well, there's two things. Outside of the tickle my throat, which Jared's hopefully going to be editing out.
Yep, I'll start making notes.
So, well, I said I was down from an editing nightmare to an editing nuisance.
Don't worry about it, I'm on it. Carry on.
There's two things I really dislike about it. One is that the editor is a bit fiddly. It's a little tough to really be able to snap things together like you would expect. There's a lot of hotkeys to mess around with and a lot of positioning that's a little bit annoying. Well, for example, a couple times I thought I put wheels on, but instead they were beside the car. But yeah, it's just there's just a lot of nuance that maybe with enough practice and enough, actually being coherent, because I was trying to play this when I was, starting to really come down with my illness over the weekend, and it was just not quite there. It's not as simple to throw something together like a Kerbal Space Program, even though it's the same general idea on both sides with the editor. Brick Rigs just overcomplicates things a little bit too much. That said, I do like how they have it where the rotation on objects is shown a lot better than Kerbal does, where you can see, okay, in this orientation, if I press A, it's going to rotate this way. They show it a lot better in Brick Rigs, and that's something I wish Kerbal would, blatantly steal. And the other thing that I dislike, and this is going to be probably one of my major nitpicks, which should tell you, how much I like the game, because when I'm nitpicking, that means I like something, is that I really wish that the game world and the actual vehicles and player models, because you also are playing essentially a Lego minifig, made sense aesthetically. You are playing in this game world that looks, it's Unreal Engine, so that's pretty much, every map on the game looks Unreal, as in the Unreal Engine. You know how things look pseudo-realistic, but not quite in Unreal?
Yeah.
The world looks like that, but then you're driving around in Lego cars. It's a disconnect.
I kind of like that. I see what you're saying.
I wish that there was at least one map that had a Lego world, and as far as I know, there isn't one, at least not yet. It's still in early access, so maybe they'll add it eventually. But I want a full-on Lego world.
Yeah,
with destructible walls. Drive into something and the entire building breaks apart. Granted, that would probably be a CPU nightmare, but they also have it where in-game, as you crash, time could slow down. So, there you go.
Very, very slow motion. one FPS. Or 1 FPM.
Well, it doesn't have to be that bad, but, just have it where sections of the walls could be broken through and that sort of thing. It would be interesting. Something that also is interesting is that they added a combat system to the game since the last time I played it, where it has online multiplayer. You can set dedicated servers and that sort of thing, and you can set up player roles where, for example, it could be cops versus robbers, and you're driving around in cars and shooting at each other, and I mean actually shooting at each other with guns. Even though the guns, they're realistic models, it's once again Unreal. Well, I should say the Unreal Engine. So, it's once again, that kind of disconnect. I wish they would just go full out with the theme or, pick something. But, very nitpicky. But overall, I've enjoyed it as a vehicle sandbox. It's one that I want to toy around with a bit more, if you pardon the turn of phrase there.
Hey-o.
Give you a moment to figure out what I meant there. As it goes further in the early access, because it's been in early access for quite a while. I picked it up last summer when it was on sale, and I think it was already like 6 months in. So I'll have to see what the final state of the game is once it leaves early access, or once it gets pretty far into early access. But so far, if you want a vehicle sandbox, it's not bad.
Yeah, it looks good. I've been interested in it for a while, and recently, in the last couple of months, my kid has discovered YouTube and Brick Rigs videos. Like, there's whole channels dedicated to people just crashing things, and he likes to watch those. And I'm like, okay, this would be a good game for me to buy, and we could sit.
Yeah, I mean, it has a dedicated just slow-mo. Start crashing and hit the slow-mo button. And it handles the wireless controller a lot better than Kerbal does. It allows hot swapping of turning on and off. But yeah, it allows the controller to be turned on and off pretty freely, and it's able to detect just on the fly, which is a whole lot better than what Kerbal does. Which is always very frustrating to try to do Kerbal with a gamepad which is wireless because, yeah.
Yeah, I don't play KSP though.
Well, my idea for Game Club was to do a lot of airplanes for early signs and then boost to the MUN pretty quickly. Couldn't do that because couldn't get airplanes to work properly. and no free toss, it's not that, assuming you're still out there somewhere. It's just that Kerbal did not like my controller being wireless. So, any questions about Brick Rigs? They have, I want to say, nearly a dozen maps.
No, I don't think I have.
And one of them is a full space sandbox.
What do you mean?
0G, just a garage floating out in the middle of space.
Okay, I got you. I was gonna say, what do you mean by space sand?
And the maps are pretty damn big for the most part. So I imagine the space sandbox is also pretty big, but I'm not sure if they have the bricks to really support it yet. Because there's a lot of aviation stuff, but I don't recall a lot of rocketry.
There's a space shuttle on one of the screenshots.
Yeah, but is it working?
I don't know. Wrong tab.
But any questions about Brick Rigs?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, next up is a transition game from me to you, Computer Tycoon. We incidentally played this on the same week.
Yeah. I was trying to think of games that I could play to, this week, because I've still been playing a ton of Civ 4 for the Game Club, and I played those for most of the week. So yesterday, I'm like, what are some games I could try to talk about on the show that probably won't be in depth? And Computer Tycoon was the wrong choice for that.
Yeah, indeed.
Looking at it, if you've played the older, I mean, they're not old, but they're from a few years, like the Video Game Tycoon and Arcade Tycoon. Those games,
this is not those.
They're really simple, but they do have that sort of shared or similar aesthetic. So seeing Computer Tycoon, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a really simple management game in the likeness of Video Game and Arcade Tycoon and stuff like that. And it's not. This is like a full-blown management simulator where that you start in the 70s?
Yeah, you start in the 70s. I went into this knowing it was going to be more complex than Game Dev Tycoon, and I was wanting to be more complex. The problem was that no documentation.
Yeah, whenever you start your first game, you get a pop-up on the screen that is just all notes from the dev that basically says, hey, this game is still in development. I haven't put together a proper tutorial yet, but here's how everything works. And it's just pages of text.
Like 15 pages, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot. And, no pictures, no real breaks, just text. Text. Well, I mean, there's some pictures. We're talking like single space, 12-point font, text for you to read through.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be 5,000 characters.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 10.
Yeah. And that's not a good tutorial. That's not a good way to explain anything, because I got distracted and bored halfway through it and just said, fuck it, I play tons of games like this. I can figure it out.
Wrong.
I was getting there. I only played it for a little while, because I was like, okay, I should dedicate some time when I can play this and figure it out, as opposed to just trying to cram something for the week. But I mean, I played enough that I can talk about the early.
Well, it probably didn't help. For one, I was starting to come down with my illness, but also there's a lot of very similar terms that mean very different things that doesn't help this game.
Yeah.
They use a lot of initialisms, like, what was it? Production points, PP, then there's CP.
Yep. And there's LP, because there's production points, logistics points. Is CP the money?
No, that was
Because it's not dollars or euros. It's like
no,
a made up.
that's CT D or something. It was Computer Tycoon dollars or something like that.
Oh, okay. Is that what that is? I don't remember reading that in the documentation. Guess I skimmed over it.
It's just there's a lot of buttons and knobs to toy around with on building your computers, which is very satisfying. But the thing is that I have no idea what the fuck.
Yeah. I mean, the gist of the game is you start in the 70s. Right now there's just like a random start mode where everything is randomized. There's supposed to be...
no, just the country boundaries are not randomized.
Well, no. But I mean, like...
Well, I was saying that only thing that's randomized is the economic data.
Yeah. Right. That is what I meant, but saying everything is wrong. Thanks for the correction there. But anyways, it randomizes that so that, you know, you're not always going for the same, I guess, countries every time on every, I guess it kind of keeps down this sort of spreadsheet optimization sort of thing. The dev has said that they're putting in a historically accurate mode, which takes into account like the Cold War and things like that. And there's certain milestones that happen according with how they did in real life. So, they said that would be much more challenging because there's certain things you can't do. Go into the Soviet Union, North Korea.
Well, also, there's no real random events right now, so it's pretty much just, go at it and that's it. There's no, suddenly RAM prices are going to jump up because, a factory flooded somewhere.
Yeah, cryptocurrency was invented. Build GPUs now. But it's an interesting looking company management sim. And
something else that seems interesting is that your CEO is an actual part of the game where you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, if you die, you lose. I like the win conditions. Though the win conditions are just make it to the end date of the game, which is what, 2030 something, like 2035 or something like that.
Yeah.
Research so much advanced technology that you create the singularity and put your consciousness in a computer.
The Cave Johnson approach.
And live forever. Or you can go bankrupt, which means you lose because you lost your company, or you can die. And if you die, it's game over. So that's a pretty interesting thing because you have to manage.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to expand on that.
I don't know. At this point, you just basically have to manage your health. There's sort of like a stress mechanic, and if you work too much and spend too much time, or don't spend enough time resting and taking care of your physical health, you can die. But I mean, obviously, I didn't play far enough to have any of that really come into play. I only played for a couple of years in game, which, it's got the standard speed up, slow down, pause time mechanic. So, I mean, I sped through most of the first couple of years. Like I said, I didn't play it for very long. But, I mean, it looks like it's all there, and it looks like it's off to a good start. How long has this game been out in early access? Been playable? Looks like since October.
It released in October, so it hasn't been out for terribly long. And they're not planning on staying in early access that long, if memory serves. It's just, without a tutorial, it's kind of tough to jump into because it's more complex than what you really was expecting it to be.
Yeah, I just didn't realize what it was. I saw it on Keymailer, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a nice, simple Tycoon game, and it's not, which is fine. I like these types of games, so...
Yeah, I do too. That's why I signed up for it. It's just, there's a difference between being able to jump into it and it being too simple and it explaining anything.
Yeah, if it had a better tutorial or a better way to introduce the game to you than just here's a wall of text, it would be easier to jump into. But as it stands, you've got to spend a while reading the manual, playing it and figuring stuff out, and then going back to the manual, that sort of thing. Or you just got to dive in and wing it until you figure it out on your own. I suppose.
Yeah, which I wasn't wanting to spend that much time with it because, I was having trouble getting my first computers to sell, and I couldn't figure out, what I was doing wrong. And this really comes down to the whole idea of if you're a single developer or a small dev team, you don't really have the outside, hey, I'm going to have trouble figuring this out because I'm not you.
Yeah. I will dive into it and just figure it out at some point. But like I said, I sat down yesterday and I was like, I haven't played any games to talk about. I need to play something. And so I popped on Computer Tycoon because, like I said, I thought it was a much simpler, more simple game. Turns out I was wrong. So I was like, I don't want to put the time into this today to figure this out, but I'm intrigued and I'm going to come back to it. I will say that a couple of things that, just from quick observation, I like the aesthetics. The screen real estate, I think, is properly used. There's a lot of information on screen, but it doesn't feel super cluttered, if that makes sense. Like, it's tightly packed information, but I didn't feel like I was constantly like, where is this thing? Where's this menu? Where's this icon that I'm looking? It feels like it's designed well. And then the aesthetic is nice. It's a simple, smooth aesthetic. Everything is
and everybody does look like they're...
cartoony.
Yeah, and everybody looks like they are right out of the 70s.
Yeah, and all of the characters that you can create look like they're right out of the 70s. Or, well, not create, but you can choose from. There's, 8 different?
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically just avatars to choose. There's 7.
Yeah, so tell me, did you choose the fat guy with the beard?
No, I picked the woman.
Gasp. You didn't go for yourself.
I chose the only woman.
Which, once again, takes in the 70s. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I was like, at first I was like, why is there only one female character? And then I really got into it. I was like, oh, okay, this starts in the 70s. That makes sense. Actually, there probably weren't any female CEOs in the 70s, at least not that I'm aware of. So I thought that was nice. But I mean, you've got some people that look like, there's a guy that looks kind of like Steve Jobs and a guy that looks kind of like Wozniak, and I'm not sure who the Asian guy is. Just Asian people. There's a Japanese man in there.
Wait, are you saying that they all look alike?
There's a Japanese man in there. They all look alike. The Japanese.
Well, I would say we're about to get demonetized, but we're already about to get demonetized.
Yeah. But, so it's nice. It's a game I look forward to learning. But I don't really have anything else to add to it.
Yeah, this is a case study of, why you should have, if not proper tutorial, a better explanation of what the fuck.
Yeah, that's fair. Alrighty.
So, my next 2 games are both mobile games in the... Well, I'm rendering for a bit. Let's go check out Google Play and see what's up. The first one is Transport Empire Steam Tycoon. And this is your pretty standard, I guess, adult-esque resource gathering game. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Where you're running trains in between different resource stations and gathering up resources for the next leg of the journey. And building up a resource empire. My big problem with it is the fact that I hit over a half an hour time wall pretty damn quickly. And yes, you are able to speed up without using the premium currency, just by using other resources, but I quickly realized I wasn't going to enjoy this. So I quickly uninstalled it because it's terrible. I would say it's about bog standard for this genre or subgenre, but it's just not for me. Think that's fair?
Yeah, I have played this before, and I liked it because I like pretty much anything with trains in it, and games with. It's this game's several years old.
Yeah, it hasn't been supported in quite a while. Well, let's put it this way: I went to the news and it said, last news headline was like 400, 500 days ago.
I see. Yeah, the last time I played it was probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And I mean, I liked it. It's got a, like you said, it's one of those standard sort of time management games. Later on, you get boats and then air. There's like a little story that you follow.
Yeah, it did seem like there was going to be a bit of an interesting story, but, I was already hitting several long time walls, so it didn't seem all that worthwhile to dive into.
Yeah. I mean, if you liked this sort of thing, I guess back when it was supported, it was decent enough. You know, it wasn't too egregious and that sort of. Although, granted, it could have changed a lot since I played it, because I haven't played it in probably 2 years.
A lot of the ways around the time sinks was other resources. So, for example, if I'm running a line that's going to pick up stone or logs or that sort of thing, I could use coal, which is also a resource that I generate by running a different line to speed up the others. The only one that really is painful to speed up is the coal itself, because that uses the in-game currency, which gets doled out in very small chunks.
Yeah, well, there's...
Well, I was about to say, it's close to a premium currency, but not quite.
Yeah, there's different speed ups for each of the... That problem gets compounded when you the ships and then the dirigibles.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to the airships before I stopped because I was already hitting the time walls pretty hard.
Yeah.
In my other game, I spent even less time on.
Okay.
Stickman Destruction 3 Annihilation, which was actually another title on my phone, which I don't even recall now. Essentially, it reminded me a lot of the old Dismount games. But the reason why I quickly uninstalled it was approximately 30 seconds of gameplay, add. 30 seconds of gameplay, add. 30 seconds of gameplay, add, uninstall.
I see. One of those games.
Yeah. Which is a shame because, it would have been an interesting, pick up and torture things for a while game.
Did you turn Wi-Fi off or go into airplane mode?
No, I didn't even bother. I didn't like it that much.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, this game looks okay, but I
mean,
can't...
It was okay, but the thing is that, it was baggedy with ads.
Yeah, I can't stand things that do that every 30 seconds is an ad.
Well, the thing is, it was after every level, and every level was, sub 30 seconds. But, that's more of just a word of warning. So while you do your towncraft, I'm going to go get another mug of tea.
Sure, you go ahead and do that. Towncraft was the next game that I played. And Towncraft is a cute little crafting game that's specifically, like the tagline is, it's a chill out crafting and city building. So what you do is there's 3 different levels, and there's a road that runs, and each level can be played infinitely in sandbox mode, or you can do it in mission mode, which is you've got a goal that you so much gold, or build your town so big, things like that. And every so often people walk down the road and you're just building this town alongside the road. And you start off with your basic punch a tree, get some wood, punch a rock, get some stones, build your first tool, like that sort of thing, like Minecraft or Terraria, any of those survival crafting games. But there's no danger. There's no time limits on anything. You don't have to worry about eating or resources. Everything returns naturally over time. And there's many ways to multiply both the resources on the map and the resources that you gather. Because as you build your town, you can hire workers and attract people to live there. Will go and do tasks for you. So you can hire wood choppers or stone gatherers or people to harvest crops to get the resources for you. There is currency in the game that traders will come by, or you can even set up a trading post, so you always have somewhere to buy and sell your goods and things, and you can earn. That's one of the objectives for the levels, which I think I said earn X amount of gold. But it's just very cute, very simple, very easy to play. It's a great podcasting or radio listening or Netflix watching game. And I played it on my desktop, but I'm going to install it on my laptop, I think, laying in bed after I've had to give the office up to Katie. I'm like watching just something to have going in the background, basically. It does have a couple of problems. For some reason, every time you try to load a second map, the game will crash. So the first time you load a map, whichever map it is, the tutorial map or any of the main 3 mission maps, it's fine. But if you save and exit and go back to the menu and launch any other map, the game crashes. No one else has reported that from what I can see on the forums, so I don't know if that's just something that nobody cares about because like they're playing until they're done and then they turn it off and they don't notice, or if it's just a me issue, which the next game I'm going to talk about, I have got some kind of hardware incompatibility or driver issue or something, so it might be that for me. But it's triggerable every time by doing that, and it doesn't seem to matter how long I sit in actually playing. It doesn't seem to crash until I go back to the menu. But otherwise, it's just a really cute game. I mean, there really is no danger. There's no monsters. You can't lose health from nothing. It's just, if you like the crafting aspects of those games, like Minecraft or Terraria or what, just want to chill out while you play them, then there you go.
To Spintires Mudrunner. This is something I played a little bit earlier today. And this was mostly due to an update that it got for some free DLC. They released a new map.
Ooh, I'll have to fire that up again.
Suddenly interested, aren't we?
I mean, I've always been interested in it. I like Spintires.
Yeah, it has a new map and 3 new vehicles. It's having some technical issues with mods. It seems like something they did broke modded cars. But yeah, I just installed my mods to try it out. And the new map looks interesting. It's a pretty flat map with a lot of forest, which usually they have a fairly hilly terrain, at least of some sort. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to play that. This is going to be, just a tease for me really diving into it for this week is I'm bored. I want to play a game. Not Mudrunner. Yeah, pretty much the place Warframe has been in for the last few months. So, and I have toyed around with 2 of the 3 cars so far. They put in a new high-end 8-wheeled monstrosity, an E-class car, which tows just a ton of freight. In the new map, you actually don't start with a garage. It's not unusual, or it's not unique, I should say, because the Flood map also starts the same way, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, you start with 2 big trucks, and one of them has a garage semi-trailer.
Yeah, that's how Valley starts, the new map. And you have to go into it. And you start off with a big truck, a small truck, and 3 garage trailers. I guess in case, one gets stuck, or if or it's set up for multiplayer. And new truck is able to easily tow the semi trucks or the semi garage trailers. It's actually quite impressive. But I think my favorite car out of the 2 I played is actually the new little scout car.
Yeah, I see that here in one of the screenshots.
Yeah, it's sort of this weird van Jeep hybrid. I'm not sure what the actual, what to actually call that thing. But it's able to take fuel barrels on it. It's able to take utility points. It's actually able to take garage points.
Like one at a time?
Yeah. Yeah, but for multiplayer, think about that. 2 people taking garage points with the trucks.
Yeah. It's a cute little thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavier than the Jeep. So it sinks in the mud, doesn't run across it like the Jeep does. Even though the Jeep does sink a lot more than the older Spintires. But it's a very useful little thing, and it also in single player is recallable, which is very useful.
I'm trying to see what vehicle this is in real life, but I'm not finding anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to call it.
Which doesn't mean anything. I mean, it could be any number of vehicles, and they've just called it the A969, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it sort of reminds me, just shape-wise, those single-person amphibious cars that, hunters use that, has 6 wheels on them and can drive just about anywhere?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Body-wise, it reminded me of one of those, so I was wondering if it was amphibious. But it's not. That's actually the downside of it, is that it's very susceptible to water, more so than the Jeep. I haven't taken it through swift running water yet, but I imagine that it would topple and tumble. Much like the Jeep.
So, the best I can come up with for an A969 is some sort of RC truck that's like lime green and off-road. Rally, or what are they? The desert racers?
Rallycross?
No, not Rallycross.
Baja?
Baja, there you go. It looks like a Baja truck. So that's not right. I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be, the same name. But it's, it's an interesting little update. If you're running a lot of mods, probably make you displeased because it broke a lot of modded trucks and people were complaining about frame rate issues. Oddly enough, I didn't have frame rate issues, which is kind of a rarity. But there you go, a free update to Spintires Mudrunner.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I need to play more of it anyways and finish off the challenge mode. Maybe beat the rest of the older maps. I mean, since they're basically mostly graphical over.
Yeah, with some changes. Valley, I didn't really recognize as a old map. I'm not sure if it's just I didn't play enough of it. But it didn't seem familiar like some of the other ones did.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, my last game is Tacoma. Tacoma came in the Humble Monthly Bundle, and I'd like to tell you about it, but instead what I'm going to tell you about is the constant crashing that happens with it. I seem to be one of a small number of people who have this repeated crashing bug. Basically, every minute or so after I launch the game and start playing, it crashes. Just hard crash to desktop. And I don't know why. And so far, the people who have asked on the discussion about, or on the Steam discussion forums about it, have not gotten an answer other than just send in your crash logs. We'll see if we can help. But nothing has been posted about how to fix it. I've gone through some of the basic troubleshooting steps, like checking my drivers and trying to launch it in windowed mode, changing. Some games don't like being launched for some reason into, occasionally launching them into full screen 1080. Typically like games loading bug or something. So I just was like, I'll just try windowed mode and a different. And then I also did the Steam verify the integrity of the game files or whatever, and it came up clean. So, which really sucks because Tacoma was the first game that I actually tried for this week, and I figured I would play through it and maybe not the whole thing, but play it for a couple of hours and talk about how neat it looks and how...
it probably doesn't help trying to problem solve this. If searching Tacoma crash, it's all Toyota.
Yeah, that's a problem too. But, I mean, I've been interested in Tacoma just because, one, I do like these sort of walking experience type of games, and I love sci-fi games, so combining the two seemed really interesting to me. Plus, I like the concept of Tacoma, like you wake up on a ship, and you're the only person left, and you're trying to figure out what happened by watching all of the holograms and things like that that are playing back, so you can see what happened. I like the concept of the game, but
well, maybe you should try playing on a lower difficulty so you're able to see more than a minute.
I should do that. Maybe that's the problem. My difficulty's too high, and I can only...
The difficulty's too damn high.
I don't know. I'll probably give it another shot this week and see if I can get it working properly. But I don't feel like spending hours trying to solve whatever the problem is. But I'll give it another shot this week and see if I can get it working. But I mean, really, that's all I have to say. It crashes within a minute of launching every time that I try to launch it, no matter what basic troubleshooting steps I've taken. Yay!
So you got that going for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's not nice.
And like I said, I'm pretty confident that it's not the game specifically, just like I just happen to have, won the lottery or lost the lottery, however you want to look at it, and just have an incompatible, some kind of incompatible hardware configuration or potentially some weird driver issue.
Okay. What we're going to have to do for you to be able to play this game, we're going to have to sacrifice a chicken. So go down to KFC and get a bucket.
Okay.
Then sit in your chair and eat it before trying again.
Okay.
I think you like this idea now.
I mean, I'm always down for going to KFC. I could just go to my parents' farm and get a live chicken. I could sacrifice a chicken that way too. Which one would be more beneficial?
That sounds too messy.
Okay. All right. I'll sacrifice a bucket of chicken on the altar of getting my game to work. Anyways, that's the games we played this week. Well, hooray for that. Means it's time to... do you need to grab anything?
No, I'm still on the dredges of my tea, and it seems to help.
Anyway, it's time now for the news.
Good news! I went on the internet this week and I found this.
Let's talk about loot boxes going forward in 2018. So we have 4 separate news articles, and 2 of them are kind of linked, and then the other 2 are kind of linked. So rather than having 4 individual topics, we're just going to see where we're at with the evolution of loot boxes going forward into 2018. And
yeah, this is just a perfect storm because it's that time of year where all the financial info starts coming out, and loot boxes are a part of this.
Right.
Like it or not.
So which one do you want to go for first?
Well, let's talk about them in industry first with Battlefront. Or with, I should say, the Activision Blizzard, their absurd amount of money they made through microtransactions.
Yep. So in 2017, the fiscal 2017, Activision Blizzard made about $7 billion total from all of their properties and revenue from everything. And $4 billion, which is a little more than half, it's like 60% roughly, came from loot boxes. Came from microtransactions, including loot boxes. And
which one of the biggest money makers was in-game purchases of loot boxes and Overwatch, which is just fucking mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I knew that they made money. I knew that they made a lot of money, but I didn't know that they made this much money.
You didn't know they made all the money.
Yeah.
Or over half the money, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Because that's just fucking absurd.
Yeah, $4 billion from microtransactions. It's when with Overwatch specifically, cosmetics and loot.
Yeah, when it's not that difficult to get loot boxes in Overwatch, isn't it? Except for the seasonal stuff.
Yeah, aside from the seasonal stuff, which it doesn't break it down in this article. Probably we just don't, the public doesn't have access to that specific of information. But I bet there's huge bumps every time the seasonal stuff comes around. Because there's people
which is why they do it.
Yeah, there's people who will spend thousands of dollars to get all of the stuff from the loot boxes for the seasonal whatever. And even if you're just somebody who's trying to get, a costume for one character, you have to spend money until you get that costume for your one character, and then you're done. And it might take you a long time to but yeah, in a game like Overwatch where it's just this website is asking me to suddenly popped up asking me to turn off my ad blocker. No,
you're not getting that.
But anyway.
Yeah, sorry. This was one of the few sites I found that had an actual write-up about it, because most of the places were linking directly to the financial report, which maybe I should do that as well. But
yeah,
it's just it's just insidious, isn't it? This is why we have all the loot boxes everywhere.
Yeah, because they make this much money. And this is a game where it is just the loot boxes are purely cosmetic. There's no anything that you get out of them that assists your gameplay in any way. But that just goes to prove how important cosmetics are to people, how looking a certain way is important. Companies are exploiting that to make just money hand over fist.
Do you think we're old?
Maybe I'm old. I can't quite. I'm like at that 95% mark with getting over my illness. I can't quite do that with my voice without it hurting. It's just, God. Did you see this week's Jimquisition?
No, I hadn't watched it yet.
So Jim Sterling makes the argument based on these reports that have been coming out that all AAA games should be free because of how much money they make just strictly off. Which was an interesting argument I haven't heard before, because the video title is "Games Shouldn't Cost $60 Anymore," and I was like, okay, he's directly addressing some things some people have said.
Well, Extra Credits was taking the counterpoint where because of inflation and how the games budget has just shot up like a rocket, that games should be a lot more expensive, but then they completely ignore the fact that the games industry is a lot bigger and their sales numbers are a hell of a lot bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I would be okay. I think we've had this conversation before, probably more than once, honestly. I would be okay if games cost more if they got rid of all the bullshit. But they're not going to get rid of all the bullshit unless something happens. So I thought that was rather interesting that he said that all AAA games should be free if they're going to go with this whole games as service model.
Yeah, which he also did another video on that I did see earlier.
Yeah, I saw that one too. And then he put out another one because it's one of the articles that we're going to talk about. The Ubisoft CEO and CFO talked about some stuff and mentioned this whole games as service thing. And he's like, I'm always right, but sometimes they give me the generous gift of proving it on the same day. But yeah, just all the money.
I mean, we could go directly into that and come back to this in a little bit because they're talking about how they want to focus on Assassin's Creed Origins and not really make games anymore. They want to go almost the Steam route, only with Assassin's Creed Origins and have it be a continuous revenue cycle. It's just, are people that enamored with Assassin's Creed? Or this particular Assassin's Creed?
A lot of people are. I've heard many people on gaming podcasts and things say that it's one of the best Assassin's Creed ever, and are comparing it to everyone's favorite, which is Assassin's Creed 2.
Well, it's not my favorite, but I haven't played it, so.
I actually personally preferred Assassin's Creed 3, which a lot of people hated. But
the only
anyways,
Assassin's Creed I've really spent enough time on was the first one, and I absolutely hated it. I keep meaning to go back and play Assassin's Creed 4 because I do have it when they gave it away. It just couldn't really get into it at the time. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, they're talking about wanting to make the Assassin's Creed game they're not saying games as service anymore. They're calling it, what, service-driven or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're essentially trying to change the name because games as service has kind of gotten poisoned with how that's been treated.
Yeah.
But it's the same basic idea.
Live services, that's in the article.
My primary problem with live services as a gaming model, and it's not even, this insidious nature that we're talking about where all the psychological tricks to try to get people to pay money, the carrying the stick, that sort of thing. Not even all that. What happens when the servers go down? I mean, permanently, when the game shuts down.
Yeah.
How much, if any, of the game will be playable? Especially with the game starting to get bounced more and more for these services.
Yeah. I agree that is both a problem and a question that we're going to be asking for a while. But I don't think there's any way around it. That's the way that technology is taking us in general, not just games and gaming and the gimmicks and all that shit that's tied into it. That's just where technology is going.
How do we end up in the bad future?
I'm okay with most games being online sort of deals. There is an issue with games preservation. There's no argument against that. But as just a general games consumer and player, there are very few games that I stick with for long periods of time. And
yeah, I mean, for me, it's my games are Warframe, Euro Truck, and Spintires that I spend a fair amount of time with.
Yeah, I tend to, nomadic may be the wrong word, but it also might be the right word. I tend to have like one or two fallback games that I come back to, and then I'll just play a game for weeks, and then I'm done with it, and I'll never play it again.
Eve begs to differ on that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, World of Warcraft too. I haven't played WoW in about a year. I keep coming back to WoW, but
I haven't played World of Warcraft in about 8.
But I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it. I'm not saying that we should just forget about it, because that's not how you should approach anything in life. But with just the way that technology is going, and by and large how most people play video games, I mean, there's very few games that last for years and years and years and years anyways. So I can see why they want to do it, and I can see where it makes sense from a business standpoint. Like I said, there's definitely problems with both games preservation, and that small percentage of people will, one day when the servers shut down, just be screwed and not be able to play their game anymore. But
Or not even just that. I mean, well, it wasn't really a news topic, but Anno 2070 was having server authorization issues for several days. And that's not that old a game. So I've realized that's more on the DRM side of things, but that's kind of the same idea here, where this games as service, or whatever they want to call it, is pushing a sort of DRM to try to incentivize people to play a legit model. But at the same time, if the servers start having issues, you're going to have to deal with them. And
what do you consider old in terms of like technology? I just looked up 2070. You said it's not that old, but it's
I don't think it was that old.
Roughly a 7-year-old game.
Granted, I start to lose track of the Anno games because it's Anno number. So I would say 5 is probably a good cutoff for starting to get aged with. So yeah, maybe it's a lot older than what I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking Anno was was a lot newer than that.
Well, there's the newer Anno, which is what, 22 something.
Pretty much the Annos are always equal 9. So
Anno 2205. Oh shit! It does equal 9. I didn't know that.
Just blew your fucking mind.
It just blew my mind. But yeah, Anno 2205 came out in 2015, so it's not even 3 years old yet.
Yeah, see, I didn't. I was swapping those two because I knew there was a new, a pretty recent Anno, and I couldn't remember which one was which. And I balked on getting 2070 because it still has that online authorization. And even if you're playing single player, a lot of your progression is based on the online side of things. And if you have issues, or if the servers are down, you lose your progression in game. You're not able to do some of the stuff. And I don't trust Ubisoft servers.
Yeah, I don't know how much. There's definitely some progression that happens while you're gone, but games have also used system clocks to do that stuff before too. Although it's Ubisoft, who might be connected to the server somehow. But anyways,
yeah, I mean, I guess that is more of a carrot for DRM to try to make an always online or pseudo always online a little bit more palatable. To have it tied into a progression and have it where, as time progresses in real life, it does help. But at the same time, it still makes me balk because I just don't trust these major game companies anymore.
Yeah. But anyways, we got kind of sidetracked from our original discussion there. Where do we want to step back on to the train?
Well, we have loot boxes being considered gambling.
Right. Okay, we can just advance it. So Sweden has said that they're going to be looking into loot boxes a lot more. Could be classified as gambling.
Sweden of all people. I mean, or countries, I guess I should say, because countries aren't people. But yeah, Sweden was one that wasn't really in the mix last year for the call out against loot boxes.
Yeah.
Memory serves correctly. But yeah, they're going to be taking a closer look at things. I mean, this just shows just how much EA's fucked up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They got Sweden pissed.
Yeah, historically the most neutral country ever.
Yeah. I mean, that takes a special level of incompetence.
Yeah, it looks like there was some kind of report that was made about young people in Sweden spending thousands of their money on loot boxes, and other adult gamers describing some of their habits as addictions, which has prompted authorities to say that they're take a closer look at it.
Yeah, which gambling addiction is a thing.
It is indeed.
I mean, there's been studies about it. It's kind of the inverse of the outcry for controlling violence in video games, when there's been no evidence about that. But gambling in video games, holy shit.
Yes, and when I said a report before, it was a Swedish radio news program that did this, and then that prompted the government to say, "Oh, we're prepared to take a." So, what I said might have been confusing because I was thinking back at it in my head, and I was like, that might have been confusing the way I said it. So, let me just derail here for 3 seconds to explain, or 30 seconds. Anyways, yeah, Sweden joining the ranks of a couple of other European countries. It was Australia, right? The non-European country who was saying that they were going to take a look at it. And also in the United States, Hawaii is taking a look at it. They've introduced 2 bills to be discussed, or to be put up for legislation, that deal with loot boxes. The first...
actually, there's 4.
Oh, there's 4. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's 2 pairs of bills.
There's 2 pairs of bills.
One pair of bills, House Bill 2686 and Senate Bill 3024, if you want to go look these up in Hawaii, would prohibit the sale of any game featuring a system where players can purchase a randomized reward using real money to anyone younger than the age of 21.
Yep, that would be devastating to the industry if that. And it's Hawaii. Hawaii is ranked in the top 3 most liberal states in the United States.
Yeah.
It might. It has a chance.
Yeah, and here's the other pair. House Bill 2727 and Senate Bill 3025 would require video game publishers to prominently label games containing such randomized purchase systems as disclose the probability rates. As well as disclose the probability rates of receiving each loot box reward.
Yep. So what they did was they fucked with somebody who plays video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the state rep, Chris Lee, says that he grew up playing video games and basically thinks this is bullshit. I mean, he didn't say that because he's a politician, but, you read between the lines and...
Well, his press conference, he was not pleased.
No, he was not. I would almost bet money that the second pair, the one that requires proper labeling and probability rate disclosure, I would almost guarantee that one's going to pass. The other one that prohibits the sale of games featuring loot boxes to people younger than 21, that one's a little bit more iffy. But, I mean, like I said, if it's going to pass anywhere, it's either going to be Hawaii or Massachusetts.
I would say California would also be a good...
Oh, yeah, in California. Those would be the 3 states where that it has the highest probability of passing, and it landed in one of them.
Yeah.
So...
And, the problem with them posting odds is that loot boxes tend not to have a set odd. They have internal timers, they have streaks, they have it where they try to incentivize people to open more of them. Granted, this isn't a blanket system. Every game is different, which is also a problem with trying to deal with loot boxes. But it's going to make it where, those pity timers that increase the odds if you go so long without opening something good, or, make it less likely to open up a lot of good stuff in one go, are going to either be very difficult to put out the odds, or going to have to go away and set odds like the fucking gambling industry.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes with loot boxes that the gambling industry is looking at like, how the fuck did we not get away with this?
Yeah. At some point, I'm almost certain at some point, somewhere, government regulations are going to... I think that Battlefront 2 with EA was the straw that broke the camel's back, and now governments are involved. And regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of how I feel about it, it's going to happen somewhere, and whenever it does, it's going to trigger a cascade, and it'll start happening in lots of places. I'm honestly surprised to see that it's gotten this far in the States already.
Yeah, really.
And this is going to be one of those weird things because of how the United States operates, that I don't know how it's going to get resolved if one or both of these... Because, I mean, I suppose it's possible for them to earmark shipments specifically going to Hawaii and design different packaging and things for that, but that would be very expensive.
I would imagine it would severely hurt brick and mortar sales in Hawaii because companies wouldn't want to deal with it.
That could also be a possibility. That's probably... I don't know which one's more likely, honestly.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's take a game company almost at random. Blizzard. Blizzard was having to deal with exactly what the second set of bills was dealing with, posting their odds of loot boxes in China. What did they do? They redesigned the entire fucking system to get around it in a loophole.
Yeah, I remember that. The question is, though, would they try and do that for specifically Hawaii? Because, again, the way that states and federal governments work in the United States, things can get really weird and wonky. I suppose they could and just look for IP addresses coming out of Hawaii, but still.
Well, I would imagine that they would try to tie this only to brick and mortar stores, because trying to go after digital is going to be very tough. So I think, bigger game companies would just take the hit and say, we're not just going to send a physical copies to Hawaii anymore, and force imports, or, just buying the physical copy online.
Yeah.
Because it's really tough for the state to go after a digital sale like that.
It would be interesting to see the knock-on effect, too, in the industry. These brick-and-mortar stores, your GameStops and whatnot, what are they going to have to say about that? I know they have less power in the industry now than they have in a long time, but they're still big companies. It would be interesting to see if there was some kind of lawsuit or something. And what happens if this proliferates, as many bills like this do when they pass? You'll get a few states to pass it, and then a little time passes, and then a few more will pass something similar to it.
I mean, Hawaii is a small enough in population that I think that game companies would be willing to, just take the hit. But imagine if California goes for it.
Yeah, if Hawaii does this, I would bet within a year. California, Massachusetts, New York, what are some other big liberal states? I mean, pretty much anywhere in the Northeast. New Jersey.
Well, I think it would have to be a block of the Northeast, because individually they're pretty small, with the exception of states that have bigger cities, New York and Massachusetts particularly.
Yeah, but and California, which is not, I understand, not in the Northeast, but a massive population. I mean, California, unless it's changed in recent months, and I haven't noticed, California is, I believe, the 6th largest economy in the world, like the state of California. So, things passing...
Well, I was bringing up by census, but, California's number one on total population.
I figured it would either be California or New York.
Well, let's put it this way. The Wikipedia list is actually very useful here. This isn't by GDP, but it's by population. Losing California is the equivalent of losing Poland.
What's California's population?
California's population is 37 million.
Damn. I didn't realize that many people lived in California. I knew it was a lot. In my head, I was thinking like 30 million. So I guess I was kind of close.
Well, that was the census population of April 1st, 2010.
Oh, it's definitely higher than that now.
Estimated is 39 million for July 1st.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if Hawaii passes these one or both of these bills, I mean, I'm pairs of bills too. That's like where I got it mixed up in my head, I guess, because the House and the Senate version, I was just saying
Hawaii's,
both of those were one.
Yeah, Hawaii's only 1.4 million, estimated in 2017. Yeah, only.
Living in the state of Tennessee than in Hawaii. Yay, I guess. But anyways, if this passes, or when this passes, I'm pretty confident that the one requiring odds is going to pass. Like 95% confident that one's going to pass. I'm a little more 50-50 on the other. Still, if this passes there, it'll set a precedent for it to start passing similar or identical bills to start passing in other states. And you'll see the liberal states go first, California, and eventually the sort of, I guess, more moderate states, or the states that go either way, depending on, those will start to get picked up. And by that point, there'll be enough support that if someone on the national stage proposes things like this, they can get it passed. And then even shitty states like Tennessee and West Virginia can have consumer protection in like a decade. at best.
What, you think my state's going to advance that quickly? Come on, we're still trying to be coal-powered here.
Although we do have a couple of new...
I didn't even realize that my state's more popular than Hawaii. Not by much, but it is.
So, yeah. Loot boxes and government and video games.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I can't really blame the industry for wanting to go for loot boxes because it's essentially a free revenue stream, but it's just so predatory.
It's honestly, I think it's the money. Like this year, or 2017, the year of the loot box, swinging all the way back around to the Blizzard article, $4 billion in microtransactions.
And that's just Activision Blizzard.
Yep.
Which they do have a mobile division as well, which, does account for some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah. And I mean, when you start seeing companies, an industry really, have that much turnover, governments are going, oh, taxes. We should get in here and regulate this a little. I mean, I'm sure that there are people, and I think your first people that are really gonna blow the whistle on this sort of thing, like Congressman from Hawaii, or what's his name?
Chris Lee, or
Representative Chris Lee.
Yeah, I just keep thinking Christopher Lee.
Yeah, people like that who are sort of championing the torch at the beginning. Like at the very least was a gamer as a kid, and he's got a passion for it, and he's looking at this, and he's the one who's raising the issue, going, "This is wrong. This is bad." And other politicians are going to go, "Huh? What's that? Billions of dollars in potential tax revenue? Yeah, this is really bad. Let's get some money off of this."
Yeah, we could build a wall with this.
You know, they could build a wall with all of the loot box revenue. I feel really bad now. I don't want to play video games ever again.
I just thought of something.
What?
How we're going to solve both issues, the wall and loot boxes.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Loot boxes.
Oh, that's good.
And if anyone illegal wants to get in, they have to buy a key. Actually, several keys. And maybe a green card's in one of the boxes, but it's a very low chance. But we're not going to publicize the odds. You okay over there?
Yeah. Oh, that's probably the most racist thing we've ever said on the show. Except for that one time I used the N-word to make a point.
What, not you?
Sure. We'll go with that. Put a timestamp.
Yeah, it's not just me. All right. Well, if we're done with this topic, I'm going to step over just a moment. I'm not going to go for a full cup of tea, though.
All right, moving on to our next topic there is a rumor or a report.
Yeah, this was called report, but it's based around just a couple of tweets, so I'm just going to call this more rumor than anything else.
Right, the rumor that Disney / Lucasfilms are talking with 2 new game developers for the Star Wars franchise. So I think the gist of the rumor is that not necessarily that EA would lose the license, but they would lose their exclusivity.
Yeah, which is just as well, because EA hasn't done a lot with it, have they?
No, they've made, since they got the deal in, what was it, 2010, 2011? Mm-hmm. They've made Battlefront and Battlefront 2, and a few mobile games. There's the one that's like Clash of Clans, the Star Wars Clash of Clans. There's one that's like a MOBA, or defense type game. Well, actually, it's like Clash Royale. So they've got Star Wars Clash of Clans, Star Wars Clash Royale, and then Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah, which Galaxy of Heroes, it's fun for a little bit, but then it starts to get into a hell of a grind, and I quit playing it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all they've done with the Star Wars license. 7-ish years.
Yeah, way to go, EA.
Yeah. I really want another Star Wars real-time strategy game. We haven't had one of those since, what is it, Empire at War?
Well, we haven't even said who they're considering. They are talking to Ubisoft and Activision.
Yeah.
So
okay, so between those two, you got to pick one. Which one are you going to pick? And then we'll open it up, since this is just what's rumored. So
I would say Ubisoft is the lesser of two evils here. Maybe?
yeah, I think so too. I would pick Ubisoft. At the very least, Ubisoft has got their open world climb a tower formula. And as much as that formula is played out, I could put up with it a little bit better if the theme was better. Sort of like, what was it? The Lord of the Rings game? Shadow of War? Or Shadow of Mordor? The first one. So you put the Star Wars theme on basically an Assassin's Creed game. I could be down for that for a while. Because, I mean, basically you just replace the assassins with the Jedi. A Jedi, and you've got a game. Or a bounty hunter. Something like that. I could live with that. Activision is basically first-person shooters at this point. I mean, that's their bread and butter. We've already got 2 Battlefront.
If they're not World of Warcraft, which they already have Knights of the Old Republic out, so they'll likely shut that down.
Yeah, I have heard rumors that the Old Republic is on. I read a couple of rumor pieces,
which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it hasn't seen much of support lately, has it?
No, it gets like one release or like one expansion every 2 years, and the most recent one came out in 2017. But it looks like all they've done in the months following the release is just mess with the microtransaction system. So there's quite a bit of speculation that this is going to be their last release. They'll keep the game going until it starts bleeding, and then they'll shut it down. Don't know though. That's all speculation. But yeah, out of those two, I think Ubisoft would be the better pick. But, I mean, you know, this is all...
Even though I'm not sure if it's really a fitting pick anyway. Because Star Wars typically is a lot bigger scope than what Ubisoft does.
Yeah. So if you could choose the developer that got handed the Star Wars license, who would you choose and why?
First pick, Obsidian. They have history with Star Wars, with Knights of the Old Republic too, but my caveat is Obsidian, and you give them some fucking time with the game. Because it seems like every single time Obsidian gets a third-party game, they're rushed somewhere by the publisher.
Yeah. Obsidian would be a good pick. This is not my choice, but when you said Obsidian, I thought of this. How do you feel about Bethesda having it?
I don't know, because Martin Bethesda is iffy. And Bethesda's never exactly been a bug-free developer. So they could make it work, but they're even smaller scope usually than Ubisoft, and that was my problem with Ubisoft. For just putting Star Wars on their trademark style of game. Yeah.
Well, my 2 thoughts for suggesting or asking about Bethesda were, 1, their open world RPG form, and 2, they're not they're not free of shit, but so far they have stayed away from the microtransaction loot box issue.
I was about to say, they haven't stayed away from the microtransaction issue, but the loot box, yeah, sure.
When you say microtransaction, you mean their, what is it, the Creator Club or whatever?
Yeah.
My pick would be Firaxis. Because like I was just saying, I want a new Star Wars strategy game. And the last one that we had was Empire at War. Which, I mean, that was a real-time strategy. Firaxis is more known for turn-based strategy. But, I mean, I wouldn't mind a turn-based Star Wars strategy game. Not necessarily like X-Wing or whatever, the conversion of the tabletop down. That's not exactly what I mean. But, something like Galactic Civilization, except with Star Wars.
Okay, how about one up you, since you want your strategy? Paradox.
Okay, yep.
I just told you with one word there now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Because Paradox tends to go a lot deeper with their strategy games.
Yeah, they do. With like Stellaris and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Stellaris, Europa, Crusader Kings. Granted, they tend to go a little crazy with the DLC.
I wonder how a major property like Star Wars in that environment, because those are very much more niche games. The reason I went with Firaxis is because, they're strategy games, but they're not Paradox level. Because I feel like Star Wars would have to be somewhere in the middle. Because
I was also taking the opposite side of things and going with the city skylines and have it be a pseudo tycoon of building up a settlement on Tatooine or something, and having to deal with that.
That would be fun. Coruscant District Manager Simulator. In the Star Wars universe, that probably exists. Anyways, yeah.
That was my other thought with Paradoxes. Use their side of city management that they've gone into recently. But I would imagine for a Star Wars Paradox game, it would be a lot easier to get into a proper tutorial system where you're not sitting and watching 4 hours of gameplay to figure out what's going on, but also have a lot deeper system.
Yeah.
Beyond, below it, where if you want to dive into it. But just think of like a Crusaders Kings, where set during the old Republic, where you're,
that would be fun.
Different roles that you could set up where you're going between planets and dealing with stuff. Set up, be a traitor or even a Jedi apprentice and try to race through the ranks and not get killed by the Sith.
Another good studio that I think could take a crack at it. It's much, much smaller studio. It'll never happen. Larian, the people who make Divinity.
You have them do the RPG.
Yeah. The combat system in Divinity is lovely and so in-depth. You could do a lot with force powers in that.
Yeah, that would transition really well to force powers.
And then I think we've talked about it before. Divinity Original Sin has supposedly a lot more of a polished game in terms of performance and bug issues, just because it's their second time around with that engine. So, if they can do in-depth storytelling along the lines of the first third of Divinity 2, if it's a better story, since there's without the performance issue and with that combat system, that would be a great RPG in the Star Wars universe. I'd be down for that.
Would you want it to be Knights of the Old Republic or 3, or do you want it to be its own string?
I think I'd want it to be its own.
Yeah, I think it would be better if they didn't continue the story.
They could set it during the Old Republic era. That's fine, but don't make it connected to KOTOR.
Yeah, at best, a few references, maybe a character shows up here or there, and that's it.
Yeah. I'd like to see a game set between episodes 6 and 7 in the new canon, an RPG set in there, because there's a lot of stuff that happens even where you have to read between the lines if you've read the books, which I've read some of the books. There's a lot of stuff that goes on it.
Wasn't that when the original MMO was set?
Galaxies?
Yeah.
I think Galaxies was set between episodes 4 and 5.
Okay, sorry, I was losing track of when Galaxies was. You're right. I can't remember when it was exactly. Which, even Galaxies, they really dropped the ball on that.
Yeah. I'm just going to look, because I want to...
Yeah, you're right. I just was misremembering which movies.
Okay. Yeah. But, yeah. I could probably rattle off a couple other devs that would make good games, but the thing is it's never going to happen. They're going to look at Ubisoft, Activision.
Yeah, they're going to go for the big, the big publishers, and the publishers will hand to the developers, because it's not going to be Ubisoft directly. It's going to be one of their subsidiaries. It's not going to be Activision directly, most likely. I sure hope not. But one of the studios that they handle. And that's, where I was going with Paradox was, they have a fair number of devs that they work with. Yeah.
What are the biggest, not to get too far off, but I'm just trying to think of any other really big publishers. That's the problem, big publishers. Because, there's EA, Ubisoft, Activision, right? Those are the biggest game publishers, aside from maybe, Sony.
If you want to get technical, Valve would be the biggest. But, that's, not quite what you're asking.
Yeah.
And Valve doesn't make games anymore.
No, they don't.
They
But
make hats.
yeah, I can't think of any other like really, really ginormous publishers. I mean, there's plenty of big publishers, but not on the level of EA, Ubisoft, and really Ubisoft is the trailing one out of that trio there.
Yeah, well, they've been fighting off a hostile takeover for how many years now?
Yeah, they're the Rebel Alliance, which makes sense because the Rebel Alliance were just a bunch of terrorists.
What? The Empire did nothing wrong?
Empire for the win. Imperial supporter. Rebel scum. I wish there was a way to organize this list on Ubisoft, or not on Ubisoft, on Wikipedia by, I don't know, revenue or...
Yeah, the problem is that you start to get a lot smaller companies popping up because they're the bigger ones that draw a lot of revenue, like Telltale keeps popping up.
Yeah.
Which Telltale Star Wars, I'm not sure if that would work.
I could go for a Telltale Star Wars game.
It could, but, it would be part of a novel.
Yeah.
I mean, typically Star Wars is it's kind of the inverse problem of Ubisoft. It's usually a bigger story than what Telltale would have unless they go multiple seasons. And then there's no guarantee that you'll get all the story because of the seasons. And here's the problem. Here's the problem in all of this is that supposedly Disney is fucking anal about Star Wars and having things look right. So having Telltale do a story where player choice happens, that would be very, very tough for them.
Okay, so according to this list, which was released in early 2017, the top 10 largest video game publishers by revenue: Sony, Tencent Holdings, which is a Chinese company, Microsoft, Nintendo, Activision, Electronic Arts, Namco Bandai, King Digital Entertainment, Ubisoft, and Gung Ho On. That's a Japanese company.
Yeah, none of those I really want. But the thing is that Disney won't look beyond the top because they're Disney. They don't want to deal with the smaller companies. Can you imagine how much it would blow their fucking mind if they went to Lorien?
Yeah.
Well, they probably would think it was a joke. Yeah. No, really, who are you?
I would, honestly, what I want to happen is that they do...
Or Larry, I should say.
Do sort of what the Warhammer series does, or did for a while with their license. Just give it to a bunch of people. Make a big list of their top developers and just negotiate deals. I mean, yeah, you get Ubisoft making a game and Activision, but, you might get a Bethesda, you might get... You might get a Telltale. That's
a good idea. You need somewhere in the middle because Warhammer had a problem where they put out too many games and too many of them were shit that they are kind of bargain bin.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Warhammer just was like, who wants our license? Take it. Make games. We need good games. I'm saying they should make a list of, I don't know, their 10 best deals or 5 best companies or what. And give it to these companies.
Something further down on our docket.
Yeah, but give it to that list of companies and just have them make games. Because I mean, we haven't gotten like we just said, in the last 7 years, we've gotten like 5 Star Wars titles, and 3 of them have been mobile.
Yeah, most of them were mobile. That's ridiculous.
So we need more.
I mean, I realize game development takes time, but at the same time, EA has more than one development house. And to be fair, they also kind of canned one of their development houses that was working on a Star Wars title. They are reworking it so that, it's more in line with industry standards. And that noise you heard was just all the soul being sucked out of that game.
Well, I'm getting kind of sad thinking about all the good games we're never going to have because they're not going to do any of that. They're going to pick or Ubisoft or something like that. And that'll be that. And they won't pick Sony or Microsoft. Sony or Microsoft probably won't something that's not an
and be console exclusive or for Microsoft console /PC. So, that kind of throws them out immediately. Nintendo, Nintendo's off doing their own things like, what's a Star Wars?
Just think though, a Nintendo Star Wars game. There's some weird old Japanese Star Wars games that were for like Sega. And There's one, I can't remember the name of it.
The Super Star Wars Adventures. That was side scrollers.
Yeah. There's one where like
Darth of the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. And Darth Vader in one of them turns into like a scorpion monster.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's it.
A bird. Like there's some weird ones out there.
Also known as Japanese.
Yeah, there's some Japanese ones out there. That's racist. We're being racist again. We've been racist twice on this show, on this episode. Maybe 3 times. We're off to a good start. All right. I think it's time to move on. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Speaking of things that kind of depress us, microtransactions again.
Yay. Sea of Thieves is getting microtransaction pets a few months after launch. So this is a bit of an awkward transition, but we felt like the Star Wars news was it to the first discussion with EA up there so much. This is a pseudo continuation though of Lootboxes in 2018 because post Battlefront 2, lots and lots and lots of companies are dancing around microtransactions and loot boxes and saying, we're not gonna...
No loot boxes.
Yeah. So what Sea of Thieves is done, and I'm going to paraphrase this article, the sort of bits of the interview but basically they're saying, no, we're going to release a game with no loot boxes, no microtransactions. We're going to make sure it's good. We're going to take a couple of months to make sure that it's going to be great. All of our future updates are going to be free. And in a few months, once this turns into a service instead of a launch, then we're going to put in some microtransactions for pets. But don't worry, you can get most of them just by doing stuff in the game. But if you want to guarantee that you get the right pet whenever you want it, you have to buy it. But don't worry, the pets don't do anything to affect the gameplay. It's just a fun thing that's an accessory, and you can do some fun, silly stuff with it, but it won't give you any boosts. Don't worry. No, you can't buy power.
Cosmetic.
It's purely cosmetic.
Yeah, they're essentially taking... this is going to be a bad comparison to it, but what World of Warcraft used to do when they would release certain mounted stuff in their store, not have the charity option for it as well, but be where certain things appear in the store only, and you could also trade them, because they did mention the tradability of them.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, and we've seen this from other companies going forward as well. In the year, I've seen Ubisoft has talked about it with Far Cry 5, and even in that article we mentioned earlier, they're saying, "Oh no, we're gonna lean more on cosmetics. We're giving players choices. They don't have to worry about whether or not there's going to be any buying power or making, it's all going to be cosmetic stuff. It's all going to be silly side stuff. We're going to give you all of everything else for free. You get all the updates for free." Like that's...
Yeah, I think they've seen just where this leads with EA and Battlefront, and they've seen the backlash, and they want no part of it, which can't blame them.
Yeah, didn't we mention this last week that Battlefront undersold by 2 million units on its projection, which it still sold a shit ton of copies. I mean, it still sold 7 and a bit million copies, but they were expecting it to sell 10 million by that point in time.
Yeah,
so
they screwed up so bad that they couldn't sell Star Wars.
Yeah. And so all of these other companies have taken notice, and they're being very, very clear about the fact that all of their loot boxes and microtransactions are purely cosmetic, purely player choice, doesn't affect the game in any way, which is still bullshit because, as we just discussed earlier, $4 billion in microtransactions and loot boxes
fueled by cosmetic DLC.
Yeah.
Or cosmetic loot boxes, I should say.
And it still affects things. Does it affect pure gameplay elements? Possibly not. Probably not.
Well, here's the thing. Is that it really depends on what the cosmetics are and what the game is, because...
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Like, in a game like Overwatch, not so much, because there's no sort of progression outside of just you're ranking yourself up. But in a game with an economy...
For more visibility.
Oh, okay.
Just pure visibility, because, let's pick on PUBG. Pulling a loot box and getting a bright orange vest, that's going to impact your gameplay.
That's true. That should make you easier to spot.
Yeah, assuming, the game works properly. Is a little bit iffy there, but, in theory, a cosmetic can impact your gameplay depending on the game. So that's why I was going with that.
Yeah.
Where a more slow-paced pseudo-stealth or stealth-y game like PUBG, having a cosmetic that allows you to blend in, and if you ignore all the memes where for some reason the miniskirts are thousands of dollars, no, outside of miniskirts. But that's where cosmetics can impact things. Overwatch is sort of another example of this. Granted, it's a lot faster pace and a lot closer action, so it's not as big a thing. I remember back in my TF2 days, there were a lot of the snipers and a lot of the spies would, the good ones would try to show off and get as loud a cosmetics as possible. But then there would be the sneaky stabby type that would go for very subtle, very dark cosmetics. Use paint, which was another consumable cosmetic thing that you get a few more bucks to try to make themselves blend in more. So, that's where cosmetics do make a difference.
Yeah.
And where I understand partly where, this $4 billion is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent money on cosmetics in games, both Warframe and here recently, Elite Dangerous. Elite... I think Elite is another pretty good example of this games as service idea. You buy it once, and I mean, you do have to buy their sort of seasons, but the seasons are a year worth of updates and contents and things. But, I mean, outside of that, their only monetization is just cosmetics. And I, every once in a while, I'll peruse the store, and I've bought 3 or 4 things in the last few months. Like, I bought a purple engine colors, and green lasers, and a couple of other things. And it was like $6 total that I spent. But still, like, I like cosmetic things. Like, that, to me, makes my experience better, because I like the fact that I have purple engines and green pew-pews.
You have green pubes?
Green.
You may want to see. You may want to see a doctor about that.
I should. I really should. So cosmetics matter in games. Maybe I think they matter less than good gameplay and potentially good storytelling, depending on what type of game. But people care in these games where you can customize things. They care about cosmetics. Warframe is called, is jokingly referred to as fashion frame for a reason. Because people care about what their characters look like. Whether you're as gaudy and as awful as I am when I make things bright pink and purple and blue and...
Oh God, my eyes!
Yeah.
Yeah, my Warframes aren't nearly as gaudy as yours.
Yeah, but, however you tackle that, or however you go about it, like, there's tons of cosmetic options to... So, cosmetics matter. Cosmetics matter a lot to people.
Yeah, so maybe, that $4 billion is a little bit more understandable, but, Overwatch crates, right?
Yeah. And going back to the Sea of Thieves thing, they've said that the pets, while they don't have any, like, impact on gameplay, per se, they say, they want you to be able to dick around with them, and that you can shoot the animals out of your cannons, and they'll come back to you, and they'll interact with people on your ship, and can provide other fun and funny, entertaining things.
Which, to be fair... What is a pirate without his animal?
Very true. Very true. So, regardless of which one you care about getting or whatever, like, it does matter. So, all of that in a roundabout way to say that companies are trying to be very careful right now to tiptoe around this issue.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid waking the sleeping monster that EA just smacked over the head.
Yeah. They're waiting for it to go back to sleep. I'd say 2018 and maybe 2019 we'll continue to see this behavior. And as long as no legislation is passed during that time, mid to late 2019 we'll start to see ramp up again.
This isn't quite pertinent, but do you think this is the reason why Anthem has been delayed to such a degree? Is that they're reworking the system to try to get to remove all the loot boxes or the loot box based progression?
I absolutely believe that this is the reason why Anthem has been delayed. The question is, did they just delay it to try and put it off into the future when maybe people have been lulled back down to not giving too much of a shit? Or are they actually taking some steps to try and fix it? That's the thing.
Well, it all comes down to how much you trust them. And for me, well, I think they're just...
I think that they're going to do a little... Let's see, a lot of column A and a little of column B. I think they'll change the loot box system a little bit to make it a little less shit. It's still going to be terrible, but they'll dial it back down from Battlefront levels to...
Well, they're also probably trying to back away from Destiny 2.
Yeah.
That dumpster fire.
They'll dial that down a little bit. It'll still be there, but it'll be sort of just tapping you on the shoulder every once in a while instead of in your face. And then also they'll be delaying it to allow people to...
So a little bit of Anthem talk in there as well.
Yep. Almost as bad as racism.
Anyways. But not nearly as bad as our next topic.
No. Our next topic, Mojang's card game, Scrolls, is shutting down for good on February the 13th, which is...
They're shutting down the Elder Scrolls? Sorry.
I see what you did there. But shutting down on February the 13th, which is today as of recording. So if you listen to this on Friday...
if they're shutting it down at midnight, you have a couple hours. Well, and we'll go back through time, then you have a lot more time.
Yeah, but if you're able to build a time machine, go fix some mistakes in the past. Let's hop into the good universe.
Unless this is the universe model. So, going back in time creates a new timeline, and this one just continues on its doomed path.
In which case, take me with you. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about this.
So, Mojang's Scrolls. And I made the joke, the Elder Scrolls, because that was really the only, major publicity this game got. Was that Bethesda screwed, but, okay, they did that as well. But sued Mojang because the name Scrolls and the Elder Scrolls they felt were too similar. For one, I'm going to ask a question, and I want a serious answer. Whenever you talk about an Elder Scrolls game, do you say the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, or is it just Skyrim, or Oblivion, or Morrowind?
No, it's just Skyrim, or Oblivion, or Morrowind. The only time I ever say the Elder Scrolls is if I'm referring to the series as a whole.
Yeah, which they were specifically going after Scrolls with Skyrim, if memory serves correctly. Saying that was too similar. I'm going to call bullshit, but Scrolls was a strategy/card game, which never really seemed to take off from everything that I could tell. Have you heard anything about playing this game?
Not a clue. Honestly, I forgot it existed until you showed me this article. And then I went, oh yeah, that's right, Scrolls was a thing. I never played that.
Well, they actually shut down development of it a couple of years ago and said that all the microtransactions would go towards running the servers and hopefully until 2016. So they did get a little bit extra time. Granted, that is just server upkeep and not, development or any patching whatsoever. So I'm not sure if that says much for the popularity of the game. They did mention that they are looking at doing community-run servers. So that is actually a very good thing on Mojang's part, and I do applaud them for that. Because usually when these games just die off, they're gone forever.
Yeah.
So it's actually unusual to see a game that is offering, or at least giving the chance of community-run servers.
I'm trying to find player numbers for Scrolls.
Yeah, Scrolls was essentially a lane defense game where, if memory serves correctly, granted it's been ages since I even seen gameplay of it, and I think pretty much the only gameplay I saw of it, Total Biscuit playing it, was that you had to protect towers on your side while attacking towers on the other side. And you did this by summoning units onto a grid and sending them off and controlling them. And it was the main things about this was, one, it was a paid for game. It wasn't in the free to play area, which for a card game is a pretty big blow to begin with. Second, everything that I recall, game times were very, very long, 20 to 30 minutes, which is way too long for this type of game. And there was also some problems with balance, and supposedly there was some very questionable how they handled post-launch balance changes. So it's not surprising that the game didn't do that well, but the fact that there was really no publicity for it was kind of a death deal.
Yeah. It held on for a long time, though.
Yeah, it held on for longer than I would expect. Honestly, I forgot about it as well until, I saw this article pop up. I knew it was out, but, I knew it was also out of development. There's no reason to really dive into it.
Yep. Still looking for player numbers. Can't find any. Because if you just type Scrolls player numbers, you get player numbers for the Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah, I would imagine that you wouldn't really find them because it wasn't a Steam game to begin with, which that usually is the most transparent digital player numbers. Because that's also a problem, was that it was never on Steam, as far as I know, or really any other third-party sites. It was Mojane's model of running it through their own services. And it worked for Minecraft, but it didn't work here.
Yeah, I give up. I'm not...
We'll go with 3.
I'm going to quit looking for player numbers.
There were 3 players, and 2 of them quit.
This is probably going to be one of those games that'll have, like, a few thousand people who are, like, really dedicated. Will keep it going using either the community or public servers thing that they're planning on patching, or someone will just figure it out themselves.
Yeah, which... honestly, maybe this could see a resurgence if they release the game for free on community servers and allow the community to handle the game itself. I could see it bouncing back a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting a kind of a cult following.
Yeah, I could too. What's the other Mojang game? Cobalt? Is that the space one?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I don't remember what it is though. I remember they were publishing 2 of them, but...
No, this isn't. Action side-scrolling is what Cobalt is. They were making a game. I don't know if it ever actually came out or was finished, but they were making a sort of super in-depth space engineers type game where you actually had to be able to code to do things in it.
Yeah, which that's popped up a few times. Different ideas of putting coding into the game.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed interesting, but I don't know how to code, so... I used to know, like, basic...
I know up, down, left, what different type of code?
Hi-yo. I used to actually know how to code CSS and old school HTML and a decade since... Jesus, it's been a decade since I took that course. I'm getting old.
Welcome to my world.
That was a course I took in high school.
Oh, fuck, now I'm old.
Really old. All right. Well, let's talk about something else that is not old. That was a terrible segue.
How about something else that's dying off?
There you go. Relic leaves Dawn of War 3 behind as it moves on to new projects. So apparently the Dawn of War 3 game, the Warhammer Dawn of War, was a piece of shit. Everybody hates it.
Yeah, which I looked into this, trying to find a few reasons why people hated it. And a lot of people were comparing it to MOBAs, where there was a long time to kill for units. Even whenever there were units that were strong against one another. You're fighting an armored unit and you have a unit that's strong against it. It would still take a long time to kill it.
Yeah.
Very MOBA-esque. And supposedly the maps were pretty small. Yeah, pretty damning for an RTS. So I can see why people are pissed off about it. And this is kind of the counter-argument for Disney just to say, hey, let's give everyone the license. Because Warhammer's had a very checkered history with their game licenses. And it seems like the Dawn of War series may be struggling now. Which, to be fair, the first 2, they're 2 very different games. The first Dawn of War is pretty much straight RTS, and the second one was real-time tactics.
Yeah.
So, not technically an RTS, or I should say in the traditional sense. It is still strategy, but not pace building. So I could see why people are very leery about going to the Dawn of War series, and to see them just drop support in under a year has to be just galling to people that bought this. This was a game I was actually interested in, but I don't buy on release.
Yeah. Because you're a smart and patient and broke gamer.
Yeah, I'm cheap. But, sometimes it costs me because, I'll miss out on, the experience without it being spoiled, or, that multiplayer experience is gone by the time I'm even considering a game. But, times like this, this saves me $60 or $70 or how.
You missed the 8-player Civ 6 match. Were you awake? Were you up during then? Because you were still pretty sick on Saturday.
I was up. I saw everyone in Discord, and nah. I mean, Civ 6 did have the free weekend, but the thing is that I was not feeling even trying to learn it.
Yeah, we played an 8%. Well, I mean, we didn't play the whole thing. We got like a third of the way through a game of Civ 6. There were 8 of us. Kyle is winning.
There's a shock.
And then there's like 2 or 3 of us that might win if things go our way. And then everyone else is pretty much just fucked.
So in other words, it's a game of Nuke Kyle.
It might turn into that. Because Kyle he's not like way out in front, but he is definitely got a lead on everything except religion. And religion and culture, and I have both of those. My religion is the sex perverts, and we've converted 5 of the 8 civilizations to, or is it 6 of the 8, to sex perversion. Sex perverts.
Why does this not surprise me?
Sex perverts is my default religion name. And then somehow I'm winning culture. I have no idea how I'm winning a culture victory, but
don't worry, I have no idea how you're cultured either.
Whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm winning. I've gotten like a dozen, somewhere between 10 and 12 great people, like great artists and musicians and painters. And I don't know how I'm getting them. I don't know what I'm doing, but
they're sex perverts.
That's where they are. All they make is pornography. But
is it porn if it's art? But we're off topic.
We are talking about sex perverts.
Also known as Jared.
The episode title's not going to be sex pervert thing.
Mostly because you don't want to get demonetized for the last couple of videos.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about that.
I'm more pissed about the situation because, not losing that much, but it's the principle of the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Fuckers. Speaking of the principle of the thing, I can understand why Relic wants to drop it because it didn't hit targets. But at the same time, it feels like they're kind of shifting the blame, saying, well, you didn't buy it, so, we're not going to support it.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
I understand why they want to move on, but I think this may hurt them in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, technically, they're not obligated to support anything.
It's a gentleman's agreement.
Right. And if it's, if they want to pull out of it because it's not doing what they want, they do have the right to, but it is a shitty thing to do. And that always does have a knock-on effect on your audience. So
yeah, and especially games down the line, which the next game up for them, unless they have something unannounced, is going to be Age of Empires 4. People are going to come off of Dawn of War 3 and think, well, they screwed up the last RTS, and Company Heroes 2 didn't do all that well, did it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it did all right, if I remember correctly, but it wasn't like gangbusters.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here, I'm looking at their game list, and I'm trying to think of, was it Company Heroes, the last game that they did? Or I guess technically Dawn of War. It really depends on what you consider, because an expansion for Company Heroes came out after Dawn of War 2, but then Dawn of War 2 expansions came out after that. So, but their last games were, let's just go down the list from most recent. Dawn of War 3, Company Heroes expansions, and then Company Heroes 2. Space Marine, which had a good start, but then quickly fell off into being monotonous. And with a cliffhanger ending that's never going to be resolved, because they also had sales issues. Dawn of War 2 expansions, Company Heroes Online, I forgot that even existed, which that shut down ages ago, didn't it?
I didn't even know there was a Company of Heroes Online, so sure.
let's see, Company of Heroes Online was a free MMO RTS, so was on Wikipedia. That means it's gone. Yeah, it looks like it never saw the proper release from... yeah, it looks like it was only released in China and South Korea for a while. Which I can understand why they would release RTS in South Korea, but at the same time, it's not Star Wars. Or not Star Wars, not StarCraft. Actually, I wouldn't give Star Wars to Relic.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, they've been a long time since they had a really good hit. They've been controversial recent releases. So this is kind of another issue with them. It's just making me, what's going to happen with them? They have another unannounced RTS title, and they lost a lot of consumer good. I mean, people are pissed. The Steam reviews are just hilariously negative.
Yeah. In the last 30 days, only 22% of their reviews have been positive.
I wonder how much of that is, over a week ago, because it was announced a few days ago that this was happening.
Let's see the graph. Yep. Starting on February the 7th.
And
Sorry,
this was published,
February the 8th. Apologies. February the 8th.
This was published the 8th.
Yep. Massive nosedive.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people are holding out hope for it to be improved. No, I think fixed would be a bit extreme in this case because of some of the design choices I've seen people. But, improved is definitely in the realm of possibility.
Let's
or
see.
Was, I should say.
Most helpful review in the past 30 days. In quotes. Let's just abandon this game instead of attempting to fix it and all the mistakes we made. Relic. Don't touch this game with a 10-foot pole. Get Dawn of War 1 or 2 instead. So,
I think the gamers are revolting.
Hooray! Things get fixed when gamers revolt.
Well, not Dawn of War 3, which was a shame because it actually looked interesting until, well, to be fair, it's all the marketing. That's the thing, is that the pre-release stuff, you have to remember, it's always marketing. It's always very carefully crafted.
Yeah. I mean, you can make anything look like anything. There's a YouTube channel I watch, which I can name of it right now, but they cut trailers from old movies to make them look like different types of movies. And the most recent one they did was Wrath of Khan, like Star Trek II Wrath of Khan. And they cut it to make it look more like a Marvel trailer. And it gives that movie a completely different tone. Like, if you'd never seen Wrath of Khan before, you might think, oh, like, this is a weird old Star Trek action film, I guess. So, I mean, you can make anything look like anything with enough editing and when you get to control the message. Yeah, enough editing and enough bullshit. You can make anything look like anything.
Don't forget bull shots.
You can polish that turd.
Yeah, Mythbusters proved that.
All right. You ready to move on to our community corner?
I think so. I am going to step over just a moment.
Okay. Whenever you're ready to start with our tweets. Because for community corner this week, that's all we have, right? Is some tweets.
You mean tweet?
Our tweet.
No, just the one.
Tweet.
We had Kimmis sending in saying he would love to see this on stream night. He was talking about Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. It was on Chrono GG, which is a deal a day website. Deep discount on a particular game until they either run out of keys or the day's over. And it's completely legitimate, by the way. It's not these bullshit gray market sites.
Yep. How many people of us have that already? I know I do. And you said you really only need one, which I guess you do.
Technically, if we're doing it stream night, you would only need it. Technically.
Looks like Cube has it. Groove, Chemis, Aki has it. Jimmy Jam does. And that's not my only friend that has it. Several of us have it. I mean, we could. I'd have to play it a little bit and work out how to do the manual. If you can just get the PDF for it, though, somebody could just download, or everybody could download the PDF.
I mean, they give out the PDF for free.
Okay. I could be the bomb diffuser, and everyone on stream could yell at me and tell me how to do it.
Which, isn't that the point of Twitch anyway? Bomb on Twitch and have everybody yell at you?
Yeah, we could do that.
I don't want to do either Spintires or Mudrunner as well some night.
Yeah, we should. Who all has Mudrunner other than
Not
you
many.
and I?
I didn't see many people that had it. But to be fair, it is the newer version. So, if you wish to help populate this section of absolute dead air, you can tweet us, VGL Podcast, on Twitter, or email us, vglpodcast@gmail.com.
Indeed. So, time for...
The music?
Yeah, we'll do that.
And the Discovery Queue.
Time for the doobly-doo over on the Discovery Queue. Let's see if I can get a couple of games from one list. Okay, so first game up for me, Dynasty Warriors 9. I have heard that this is the worst Dynasty Warriors game ever.
How did they mess up Dynasty Warriors? It's basically the same game, isn't it?
Nope. They turned it into an open world game. Sort of like a Ubisoft Lite. There's towers you have to climb and lots of running around with nothing to do. Jim Sterling posted a 30-minute Let's Play / review of it today, which was the date the embargo lifted. And he's been saying that it's pretty, making hints that it's really bad for days. But he's cheeky about a lot of stuff, so I didn't think that it was,
Okay,
that
I need to
bad.
go watch this.
God, the first... You could stop after about the first 10 minutes, because he's just spewing how terrible it is. And then he kind of gets it all out of him. And then he just kind of mildly complains and bitches for the rest of the video.
Which is also Jim Sterling.
But, I mean, they ruined Dynasty Warriors. Basically, there's no more giant battles. There's occasionally...
Isn't that the entire fucking point of Dynasty Warriors?
That's the point, yeah. Occasionally, you run into either do missions or go to areas where there are larger amounts of troops, but it's dozens to maybe a couple hundred versus Dynasty Warriors in past. It's been thousands. I mean, not literally thousands in your field of view, but the casualty counters number in the hundreds to thousands. Because it's these are giant battles with two enormous armies fighting each other. It does a lot of one-on-one combat now, but still using the Dynasty Warriors sort of button smashy action type combat. So it's not like they've taken and done anything innovative with it. They've just stripped away a lot of the fun stuff, like massive battles and the uniqueness of a lot of the characters. Apparently a lot of the characters are really samey. I'm putting it on here, but this is an avoid.
So in other words, it's not going to get your Discovery Queue Game of the Year.
No. Oh, it's rated mostly negative, and it just released today. Wow. It's at a 27% positive review score. People hate it. Yeah. Just play an older Dynasty Warriors game. It's better.
I haven't played Dynasty Warriors in 8. I never spent much time with the series. I rented it a couple times. Remember when rentals were?
Yeah.
But that was about all my experience with it. How about, hey, stop me if you heard this one before, but first-person horror survival.
Oh my gosh, that is such a new and novel idea.
Actually, this game doesn't look that bad. It has a very good graphical fidelity to it. And people are saying that it's very... Well, some people are calling it Bioshocky Stalker with some Dead Allen mixed in. It doesn't seem that bad. Granted, this is a game that could easily be lost in the mix with all the other first-person survival games. And there's not many horror survival in that genre. So maybe that's enough to set it apart. In early access, though, so there you go. That's a big warning, but it's also fairly cheap for this genre. $20 usually. It's still in its release sale, or early access release sale, I should say, right at $17. And multiplayer, with at least multiplayer as an option. I'm not sure if it's the focus. Looks interesting, though.
Yeah, so I got another one. Cattle and Crops looks like another farm simulator type game, but...
is that the older looking one that is mixed with Cthulhu? No, I'm not joking. No,
okay.
There's one that's... hang on, let me see the... No, okay, this isn't the one I was thinking of.
No, I was going to say this one just...
Okay, whenever you said farm simulator, I was thinking, Stardew Valley-esque.
I will say, though, that this person, whoever like wrote the description, the first line, driving tractors is fun. They've obviously never been on a tractor. Driving tractors sucks. Maybe modern tractors aren't quite so bad, but I grew up on a farm. I've driven a tractor before. It's really bumpy, it's really loud, it smells, and your back hurts. And everything hurts. But that's real life experience. I mean, this looks like, you know, just looking at the screenshots and stuff, it looks like an okay farming simulator type game. I don't really have too much experience with farm simulator, so we need Gem or Ghost, or I think Q plays farming simulator too. Have one of them take a look at it. Maybe they could tell us, but actually it looks good.
Okay, well, I got one for you. How about a Norwegian fishing game with ships? You're not fishing Norwegians. You're fishing off realistic coasts of Norway with big ships.
All right,
I mean, it's a fishing
I'm
game.
intrigued. I liked the, what was it? The crab, whatever, ice. The crab fishing TV show. They made a shitty tie-in
Deadliest
game.
Catch?
Deadliest Catch. There you go. They made a tie-in video game like 10 years ago that was on Xbox for that.
Well, I'm not sure.
And
is
I
crab
actually
fishing,
really
but
liked that.
But it looks like it's more deep water fishing than you usually see in fishing games.
Right, but
And it doesn't look bad. I mean, it definitely looks a little dated, but it's not bad looking.
What I'm getting at is like this is fishing with big boats and equipment and stuff versus just I'm gonna take a fishing rod out and go. I like that. I prefer that to just fishing.
Yeah, it looks like it's more heavy machinery because a couple of the screenshots showed some rather impressive looking control panels. So there you go. There's a fishing game for you.
How much is it? I just closed the tab.
$18.
That's
Also,
not bad.
Also, it looks like it's on its release sale. It released last week.
It's not too bad.
And it's not on early access as well. And it looks like it's been updated a few times since it's been released. Just bug fixes. So that's promising.
Oh, hey, it was on my wish list or my discovery queue as well.
Skip that. That looks like crap. That's not promising. I can't tell if. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if this store page has half its assets broken or not. I'm gonna add this in just so you could go look at the store page and see if I'm having an issue or if it's the store page that is completely broken. It reminded me a lot of Awesome Knots when I first saw it, which is one of the few moments I actually liked. But it's a platformer / tower defense game called Aegis Defenders. And it looks like half its screenshots are broken for me. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's not promising whenever, half the assets in the store don't work.
I have seen before somewhere, I think, but yeah, half the screenshots are
You can see why
broken. Yeah.
Well, it looks it has actually some decent looking pixel art to it, but yeah, that's not promising. It looks like some sort of story to it as well, so not just pure tower defense. Interesting. If they can fix the store page, maybe you'll get a few sales. It looks like it's published by Humble Bundle. That's where you've seen it.
Yep.
It's published by Humble Bundle, so it's a Humble original.
That would explain it. So I got one. Attack of the Earthlings. Described as a comedy turn-based strategy game where you play the alien species on a planet where that humans have come to mine all of your resources, and you're trying to just kill the humans and get them off. And it says it's got a funny dysfunctional single player campaign, which I think dysfunctional, I hope, refers to the story, and why it's funny, as opposed to the game is dysfunctional.
I don't know, there's a few times that this last week I saw some really bad Google Translate that made the sales pitch for the games a little bit too on the nose. The horrible atmosphere of an old house.
I could see.
Oh, I just got Attack of the Earthlings on my queue.
It's on Keymailer. Request a key. Maybe I can get this one for free. That would be awesome. Because it actually looks pretty cute and nifty. And as long as it didn't turn out to be horrible crap, I'd spend like $10 on it. But if I can get a review copy, why not?
Yeah, I am on my last game. It looks like it's a clicker. So I'm done. That's it. I'm spent.
I am on my last game now.
And one of mine was just, is this working for you as well, or is it just me?
No, it's broken for me as well. And that was my last game, and it was not wing about. But I got 3 games out of 1 queue. 2, technically. Dynasty Warriors 9 is more of a go look at this, but don't buy it.
I mean, that's fucking impressive that it's that low.
Yep. On release day. That's crazy.
I mean, there are a couple positive reviews, but they almost feel like joke ones. I mean, this one guy says, it's really a 5 out of 10, but I'm giving it 2 extra points for throwing me into a giant movie scene. 7 out of 10 is still not a very good score these days. Isn't this the first time Dynasty Warriors?
No. There are other Dynasty Warriors games on PC. Both in the main franchise and in their offshoot.
Any of the good ones?
Whenever they just take a game and put it in the Dynasty Warriors style. Let's see how many. Looks like Dynasty Warriors 8 and 9.
Yeah, 8 is rated fairly, actually pretty good. I just never paid attention to Dynasty Warriors.
I mean, basically, up until this one, every game is the same, with better graphics, and sometimes they add a mechanic, sometimes they take a mechanic away. But, I mean, they're basically the same game up until, apparently, this one.
Holy shit, there's a lot of DLC for Dynasty Warriors. There is 21 pieces for $190. Man, it looks like it's mostly costume packs, so... Oh, never mind. Is that... Looks like they add some sort of weapon packs as well. 12 additional stages will be added to free mode, in which new powerful versions of all 77 weapon types will be available to acquire. Okay, it's not as bad as I originally thought, but... I thought it was, pure, selling a power whenever I saw a weapon pack.
Yeah, a lot of the different weapons in Dynasty Warriors, at least in the older games that I've played, tended to be more cosmetic. You'd unlock a different weapon, and so your character could hold in, but they still perform functionally the same.
So did they ever unlock an electric guitar, so whenever you smack something, you heard the guitar chord?
I don't think so. I don't think that was ever in Dynasty Warriors.
I guess it's only in Fully Cool. I guess we're going to have to get you to watch that now. So I can almost hear the blank look.
Sorry, I'm muted to cough. What did you say again?
I said, I guess that's only in Fully Cool.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea what that is.
It's a very short anime series. I want to say 6 episodes. Just extremely over the top. You would love it.
Okay. Put on my list.
Yeah, let's put it this way. They fight with guitars.
Alright. Oh, I see some images here. Alright, cool. Wait, this lady has a... Is that a gun, or is that... Yeah, it's a gun. And her tits are out. That might be fan fiction. But it does look like it's styled like the other images I'm seeing. Could just be fanfic to...
Well, also just search FLCL.
Okay, that picture's gone. Cool.
Yeah, look, like, 5th image for FLCL. There you go. Well, assuming our searches are the same, but yeah. And there's the anime talk for now.
Yep, I'll put this on the list of anime I'll watch eventually.
Yeah, and they go through a lot of different styles, as one-off jokes, usually. Let's put it this way. At one point, they do South Park. And no, I'm not joking.
All right.
They have a sequence that is very Looney Tunes-esque. They joke about, not having enough budget and go to manga style. As in just static images going across the manga page. It's just absurd.
Well, that's interesting.
And I'm bumping it up your queue, aren't I?
a little bit, but there's some good stuff on my queue that it's not going to get. Although if it's only 6 episodes, that might be something that's easier to commit to.
Yeah, it's not a long series. And it's going to get another season before too long. But anyway, why don't you tell me what you are up?
Well, this is the portion of the podcast where I come first. Which is what you just
that's why I'm asking.
Segued to. And what is coming up for me in the future? It's Valentine's Day is this week. So the podcast will be up on Friday. The kids going to my parents' house for 2.5 days. So Katie and I are gonna go see Black Panther on Friday, and we're gonna hang out and maybe play Thursday and also. But basically, that means that nothing will be coming to my channel except the next batch of Kerbal videos and the podcast. And if you want to find those, you can see those or by searching for Gaming Psychologist on YouTube. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where you can see all of the wacky, crazy things that I say, you can do so at JMA4707. If you want to watch me stream games on Twitch, you can do so over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. But like I said, because of Valentine's this week, no stream. Next week, we might look into doing Spintires or something like that, but I promise, cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. I'll put the list up before next week.
What, you mean I'm actually going to have to change my template to add that back?
Yes.
Because whenever you stopped doing the stream night for a while, I took it out of the list or took the list off because, not really a reason to keep hitting it, right?
Yep. Well, it'll be back. I promise. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can do so by sending a friend request to JR707. I accept all friend requests on Steam, and everyone so far has been lovely. I made a new friend this week, although that was because of the Civ 6 game, not because they friended me randomly, but still. New people are always nice. Feel free to chat me up about anything.
If you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password this week is antihistamine.
Yes, indeed.
Antihistamine.
Yes, indeed. All right, what have you got?
Well, for me, Divinity is still cursed for some reason. Because we just never able to sit down and do it. This past weekend, because I was the Living Dead on Sunday. We just need to sit down and try to finish it off at some point. But it's not a high priority for this week, because I imagine we're going to be trying to figure out for next week, which is a very special.
Indeed. Speaking of which, I have like not 30. I have like 13 or 14 that I'm going to have to narrow down to 4.
Divinity will eventually come back and we'll finish it off, and we should probably try to do something shorter next time. Just to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few ideas, and we'll sit down and figure that out later. Civ 5 started up again after missing a week. I was late on recording the Monday episode, and I was too sick to really deal with Thursday. So, I just ended up, this week is last week's content. Still, starting to approach the mid-game, getting my religion out. I think I'm in a fairly good spot. I don't think I'm going to do another Civ game, though, because I'm just not... I'm going to pull, a Relic games, and, I'm just not getting the views, so I'm going to drop it.
Well, there you go.
Civ is probably more of a Twitch game anyway, because, you can get the real-time feedback for this. I don't think there's a lot of people really watching it outside of the bigger channels, and not one of the big. RimWorld, on the other hand, which I would have thought would have been more of a Twitch, still is getting views and is still doing fairly well. It's going to be continuing on the town of Netherwallop. And I need to record for this week because I only have the episode that I just posted, and that's it. Which I think I'm well enough to we'll have to see, though. Things are going actually fairly well in it, which you wonder, just what's my downfall? Because they have made it a lot harder to get off the planet. I don't think I'm going to see another victory. But that's really all the content that's going on. Sunday Samplers should be back this week. I was just too sick to deal with the Sunday Sampler this past week. And still getting over it. And you can find all that on Gaming with Caffeine Raves or just Gaming with CR on Twitter, where I tweet about who knows what. And I did quote one of my tweets about, the horrible atmosphere of the old house. I just saw that and just started chuckling. Then again, I was also sick and I was delirious at the time and slightly feverish. So, that made it a lot funnier. Probably a lot more fun than anyone else would have with that game, though. Because it didn't look good. It was one of those that, all the screenshotting. So, moving along to the ending spiel. Once again, you can find us on a Twitter, VGL Podcast, to get into there. Or just email us, vglpodcast@gmail.com. Voicemails, gaming-related topics, or just to scare the ever-loving hell out of the balls. If you still want to pay for this absolute madness, you can do so at patreon.com/VGLpodcast, which your Patreon funds have graciously towards our website, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which houses the RSS feeds as well as the show notes. But we're also on iTunes or Google Play. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. And deeply do as well.
Indeed, as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. But bye now.
I almost got through the outro without having to stop to cough, but didn't quite make it.
Almost.
Almost, but not quite.
And there's our episode title. Bye-bye.